Mrbeast just got married today! And somehow, the internet's biggest, most documented, most filmed human being on the planet managed to pull off an entire wedding without anyone finding out until it was already over. Let that sink in for a second, because it's actually kind of wild when you think about who we're talking about. If you've somehow missed who Mrbeast is, real name Jimmy Donaldson, 28 years old, he's the single highest paid content creator alive, sitting north of 459 million subscribers on YouTube, host of the Prime Video competition show Beast Games, and founder of Feastables, his own chocolate and snack company. This is a guy who films close to 28 days out of every month. His entire life, career, identity, all of it runs on being in front of a camera constantly. So when someone like that manages to keep something completely off the internet for over a week, that's genuinely rare. That almost never happens with him. So here's what actually went down. Jimmy married his longtime girlfriend, Thea Boyson, in a private ceremony on Richard Branson's Necker Island. That's a 74-acre private resort island down in the British Virgin Islands in the Caribbean. According to People, the whole thing kicked off on July 14th and stretched out over about a week of festivities before the actual wedding day. And the guest list was small, reportedly around 70 people, close friends and family only. No live stream, no 1,000-person spectacle, no cameras rolling for a YouTube video. At least, not one we've seen yet. Just a quiet, intimate wedding, which, if you know anything about how Jimmy usually operates, is basically the opposite of his brand. And that contrast is honestly the whole story here if you ask me. We're going to get into the details in a second, but keep that in your head the whole time. The guy whose entire career is built on maximum spectacle chose to make the biggest day of his personal life as small and private as humanly possible. Okay, so let's talk about who Thea Boyson actually is. Because if you're only familiar with Jimmy's YouTube world, you might not know much about her. She's a South African content creator and author in her own right. Not just the girlfriend, she's got her own presence online. The two of them met back in 2022, during a trip Jimmy took to South Africa, at a dinner through a mutual friend. From there, they started dating, and it's been building steadily ever since. Years of a relationship that, notably, he's kept mostly off his channel the entire time. Which again, for a guy who documents literally everything, says something about how much this particular part of his life mattered to him staying protected. The proposal itself happened on Christmas Day, 2024, and it's actually a pretty sweet story once you hear the details. Jimmy planned it at his own home, with both of their families secretly in on it and present for the moment. He's talked about it since. He said his friends assumed he'd want to do something huge and public, like some kind of giant stunt proposal at the Super Bowl, the kind of thing that would fit his content perfectly. Instead, he went the complete opposite direction. On purpose. He wanted it private. So during their Christmas gift exchange, he saved the ring for last. He said he intentionally made some noise dropping a big box first, just to catch her off guard, and then got down on one knee in front of both families. Thea has said that in her mind, they were already basically married before that moment even happened. They'd already talked about kids, about growing old together, but she said yes anyway, obviously, and called it perfect. After the engagement, Jimmy actually gave an interview where he flat out said the wedding wasn't going to be televised or turned into content. His exact reasoning was that his whole life is already on the internet. He's always in front of a camera. So, for the most part, this one relationship was something he wanted to keep behind it. And based on how this whole thing played out, a private island, a small guest list, silence online for over a week, it sounds like he actually followed through on that completely. Now, let's get into the actual wedding day, because the details that have come out are genuinely lovely. The ceremony was officiated by an ordained minister who was apparently a close family friend, not some random hired officiant. Another small detail that fits the keep it personal theme running through this whole thing. Thea wore a custom-designed gown from Nicole and Felicia Couture. Jimmy wore Ralph Lauren, a clean white blazer with a matching rose pinned to it, paired with black slacks. And for their first dance, they picked Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars's song, Die With a Smile, which, if you've heard it, is about as fitting a choice for a wedding as a song gets. After the ceremony and the reception, from what's being reported, things got pretty relaxed and low-key. Guests apparently kept the party going back at the main house afterward. and Thea's actually joked that most of what everyone did that night was, in her words, pretty nerdy stuff. Card games, board games, which honestly tracks with everything we know about this couple. This wasn't a flashy, look-at-us kind of night. It sounds like it was just genuinely them. So then, how did the announcement actually happen? Jimmy posted it himself on Instagram today, July 21st, sharing a set of photos from the day. His caption was simple: "I found Mrbeast, and it was the best day of my life." That's it. No big production, no separate YouTube video breaking it down. At least, not yet. Thea posted the same photos on her own account, and she's already updated her Instagram name to Thea Donaldson, which is usually the clearest sign of all that this is real and official. Here's my honest take on all of this. I think it's genuinely refreshing, in a weird way, to watch someone whose entire public identity is built on excess and spectacle, massive giveaways, elaborate challenges, insane production budgets, turn around and choose the smallest, quietest possible version of the biggest day of his life. There's something almost defiant about that, actually. Everyone around him probably expected some kind of content spin on it eventually. Instead, he just didn't. He let it be his for over a week before he even said anything. And I think that's worth noting in a bigger sense too, honestly. We're at this point now where creators like Jimmy have basically become the new version of Hollywood A-listers. His wedding is getting the exact same breathless coverage a major actor's or musician's wedding would get. People magazine had the exclusive. Every entertainment outlet picked it up within hours. That's not a YouTuber thing anymore. That's a genuine celebrity thing. The lines between internet famous and just famous basically don't exist anymore. And this is a pretty clean example of that. Now, what happens next is honestly the more interesting question for anyone who actually watches his channel. Does any of this ever make it into a video? Given that he said before he wanted this specific part of his life kept off camera, my guess is we probably get, at most, a short acknowledgement somewhere down the line. Maybe a passing mention in a future video, maybe nothing at all beyond this Instagram post. Feastables might do something cute and low-key around it, since that's very on-brand for how his business side usually handles personal milestones. But I wouldn't expect a full My Wedding Day YouTube upload. That would honestly go against everything he said he wanted this to be. There's also the practical side of it. Jimmy's in the middle of Beast games running on Prime Video. Feastables is still expanding, and he's historically one of the most relentlessly active creators out there in terms of upload schedule. So don't be surprised if it's basically back to business within days, with this whole thing treated as a genuinely private chapter that just happened to become public because, well, eventually it always does when you're this famous. Anyway, that's everything we actually know right now. Necker Island, 70 guests, a week of festivities, a minister who's a family friend, a Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars first dance, and a caption simple enough that it says more than a whole produced video probably could have. Jimmy Donaldson found his Mrbeast, and for once, he let the internet find out last. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Does it surprise you that the most public guy on the internet managed to keep something this big totally private? I read all of them. Congrats to the two of them. Talk soon!